The doors to the Viridian Tea House are open once more. Hello everyone! I've got a lot of stuff to talk about today, including tea blends, books, and an upcoming event. Tomorrow, Saturday, which is the 9th, is the Denver Vegan Holiday Market. I think that's the right title. But it's at the Town Hall Collaborative on Santa Fe Drive in Denver. The hours are going to be from 11 to 3. They will have vendors indoors and outdoors. My booth will be outdoors, but I will have tea, books, artwork, and photography. And actually, let me just go ahead and get this out of the way. 3 blends have come back in stock, and a 4th one, which I will talk about later, is a brand new one. So some of the tea blends that I will have at my table tomorrow and on my Etsy store. Quantum Mechanics, which is one of my white tea blends, inspired by my love of quantum mechanics. And this is a white tea with lemongrass and spearmint. So I have this both in regular and sampler size. Also, one of my favorites, French Cinema, inspired by my love of all French films. And this is a white tea with watercress, lemon peel, and spearmint, both in regular and sampler sizes. Then I've got, of course, my good old staple, Goth Librarian, which was the first tea blend I ever created for my company. And this is black tea with allspice and cloves, regular and in sampler sizes. And then finally, Harlem Muse Tea Blend, inspired by the Harlem Renaissance author Nella Larson. That's actually her on the label. And this is, and I added something to the Harlem Muse Tea Blend. So if you're a fan of it, I've tweaked it a little bit. It is now white tea, jasmine, lemon balm, and ground lime peel. So that's the new ingredient for Harlem Muse Tea Blend. But all the teas that I talked about are in stock in my Etsy store, both in regular and sampler sizes. Plus, if you attend the Vegan Holiday Market tomorrow, you'll be able to buy directly from me. So hope to see you there. And yes, all those blends are in stock in my Etsy store. Right, so let's get to some books. Oh, and for those who do celebrate, Happy Hanukkah, Chag Sameach Hanukkah. I have my Hanukkah mug, of course. Had to acknowledge that. So these 2 books have nothing to do with the holiday spirit, but I chose them because I just like to read a little bit of everything. So the first book, one of my favorite subjects, Werewolves by, let's see if I can see the author. Let's see, the author is Nigel Suckling. So if you want to know anything and everything about werewolves, this was actually a really good guidebook. I hate to say guidebook, but it really was. And so let me just read the dust jacket for you. From the earliest times, man has been fascinated and frightened by those human beings mysteriously transformed into flesh-eating wolves by the power of the full moon. Nigel Suckling, I love that name. Nigel Suckling takes us on a trip through myths and legends from around the world, from ancient times to the werewolves of Victorian literature and the modern movie. And from the 12th century, Marie de France, 12th century, a garwolf is a savage beast, while the furies on it, at least, eats men, wreaks evil, does no good, living and roaming in the deep wood. So yeah, and see if there's any information about Nigel Suckling. He's the author of many books, including a book about unicorns, leprechauns, sea monsters, gnomes and gardens, the angel companion, and also vampires and witches. And in addition to his prolific writing, Nigel is also a gifted illustrator, cartoonist, and has even been a designer of board games. And his website, which I'll put on the link for this video, is www.unicorngarden.com. So, and all about werewolves. Let's see. So the sections are Primal Scream, Myths and Legends, Howling at the Moon, Werewolves in History, Shadows in the Night, Werewolves in Fiction, Modern Werewolves, and then further reading. So I have to admit, so when I was younger, I was really into vampires. Like at one point I had over 300 vampire books and actually did a term paper on Bram Stoker's Dracula too, the symbolism, the symbol of blood in the book. But later on, as I got older, I kind of switched to werewolves. Like some of my favorite werewolf movies, Brotherhood of the Wolf, which he actually talks about the legend behind that movie, the Beast of Javonda. Let's see, An American Werewolf in London. Who doesn't like that movie? And let's see, the classic Universal Studios, The Wolfman, and what was it? The remake, The Wolfman, with Benicio del Toro. Loved it, loved it. And in terms of werewolf literature, there was one by, what's it called? The Sticks, by Andy Dean, who is the lead singer of the band Bella Morte. If you're into really good music, you need to check out Bella Morte and Andy Dean. The man is a Renaissance man, he really is. And also Corinthia Falls by Alex Brown. From what I understand, it's out of print, but I think it might come back into print. Alex, if you're watching this, I'm not sure if it's coming back into print or not, but can you just let me know? If you can get your hands on a copy of Corinthia Falls, it is by far one of the best werewolf books I've ever read. It really was an amazing story. And the way that he describes the young woman's transformation into a werewolf was phenomenal. Like, I haven't read that kind of detail in a book involving werewolves probably ever, never. So kudos to you, Alex. Alex Brown is one of the best horror writers out there, and he also does reviews of horror books. I think it's called Bookworm of the Damned. So check him out. I think he's on YouTube. But yes, so in terms of werewolves, like I'm fascinated with werewolves. I'm fascinated with the legends. And actually, I pulled to a random page here, ways to recognize a werewolf, just in case if you needed to know. A werewolf may look like a natural wolf, but it will have human eyes. When in human form, a werewolf will be pale, haggard, and listless. He will tend to avoid direct sunlight and abhor cooked meat. After a spell of being in wolf form, the werewolf will be drained of energy and unable to leave bed for days. A werewolf cannot shed tears. I thought that was interesting. I was like, okay. In France, they say that the werewolf's hands are always broad and short-fingered with hairy palms. There's no hair on my palms, and my hands are rather big. Suspicious wounds identical to those reported as having been inflicted on a wolf nearby. Ways to defend against werewolves. You wear garlic, wear a Greek or Turkish lucky eye charm, wear a silver cross, have silver bullets in your gun, carry a consecrated host, communion wine or holy water, avoid dark woods at night, especially under the full moon. A werewolf can be cured by being cut or struck in the forehead so that blood flows freely, or by having 3 drops of blood drawn with a needle. A werewolf can also be cured by love, which dampens its wilder urges, or by calling its true name 3 times. Ways to destroy a werewolf. Chop off a limb and it will regain its human form. Shoot it with silver bullets or arrows, or stab it with a silver knife. Pierce it through the heart with a wooden, preferably aspen or whitethorn, stake. The only sure way to destroy a werewolf and prevent either its revival or its becoming a vampire is to cremate its head, heart, or complete body. A dying werewolf regains its human form. So that's just a little bit, and that's just from the introduction. But yeah, this little book has so much information about werewolves, and there's even a section about cannibalism, which I was like, oh yeah, I guess I can, yeah, that would kind of be lumped in. And then a section regarding lycanthropy, and also feral children, like real wolf people. So yeah, this little book, if you can get your hands on a copy of Werewolves, if you're into werewolves as much as I am, you would be doing yourself quite a grand service. So Werewolves by Nigel Suckling receives 4 pots of wolfish tea from Viridian Tea House with no wolfbane. So many thanks to Nigel Suckling, and I actually want to read his books on witches and vampires as well. I'm just curious to see what information he's pulled for those books. But if you're watching, thank you so much for this. This was quite a lovely read, and I look forward to reading your other books. Thank you. Rightio, so the next book is by one of my favorite authors and artists. If you know him by the author and creator of Griffin and Sabine, and my all-time favorite book, The Museum in Purgatory. It's Nick Bantock, but this is called The Artful Dodger, Images and Reflections. So basically, this is kind of like his autobiography in a way. He talks about how he began his crazy creative journey and just a little bit of samples of his artwork and his writing from various different books. Oh, and actually, if you've never seen it before, this is my lovely copy of The Museum at Purgatory. I love this book. Love this book. I love the idea. I love the concept. And actually, some of the art pieces in this book are in The Artful Dodger. So let me read the dust jacket for you. Internationally acclaimed for his Griffin and Sabine trilogy, Nick Bantock now brings new meaning to the art of autobiography. Funny, idiosyncratic, and full of insight into the creative process, The Artful Dodger, Images and Reflections is a behind-the-scenes tour of Bantock's life work, interweaving his reminiscences with hundreds of artworks. Showcasing the vast and varied artistic territory Bantock has been exploring since long before his proverbial overnight success, The Artful Dodger surveys his work from English art school days to the present, encompassing early sci-fi paperback covers to abstract paintings, children's books to his recent collages. The Artful Dodger is as rich in life as it is in art, revealing the creative ranger of a master of his craft. I mean, seriously, if you are a fan of Nick Bantock and you are a completist where you just have to have everything he's ever done, you need, if you don't have it already, you need a copy of The Artful Dodger. This truly, he gave out just enough information kind of behind the scenes for his writing, specifically and particularly Griffin and Sabine, which I was like, I wonder, how did he ever get inspired to write that series? And now I know, and it's like, oh, okay. But he doesn't give away everything. Some of it, he kind of leaves it up to you, and I'm glad for that. So thanks, Mr. Bantock, for all of your work. And in fact, I'm reading the newest book, The Corset and the Jellyfish, which is so delightful. If you're into Alice in Wonderland like I am, you would love it. And I'll be reviewing it very soon at a future video of Viridian Tea House. But for The Artful Dodger, Images and Reflections by Nick Bantock, it does receive 5 pots of tea from Viridian Tea House. I couldn't see the screen. But yes, I love The Corset and the Jellyfish. I started it last night. And the only reason why I stopped was because my eyes were falling closed, but I know I'm going to love it, and I know that I'm going to want a copy of it for myself. So yes, many thanks to Nick Bantock for The Artful Dodger. Thank you so much. Thank you. So now to the tea portion. This is a new tea blend through my company, Viridian Tea Company. I was about to say house. It's a company. Welcome to the official Moon City Tea Blend. Now you're probably wondering, Kimberly, what's Moon City? Glad you asked. So Moon City is the fictional city that I wrote in my Jackie Verona murder mystery trilogy. Says so right there. So there are 3 books, of course, it's the trilogy. Jackie Verona, A Murder of Gypsies, The Devil's Music, and the newest one, which has just come out, The Dance of Lilith. I had a customer last week who was looking at my books, and she wanted to get the 3rd one, and she was like, well, do I have to read the first one? It's like, Yeah, you kind of sort of do. And let me add to that, you can read them kind of sort of separately, but there is one story that kind of goes through the entire trilogy. But this, I felt that Moon City was its own character. I mean, you had Jackie and Mooney and Clovis and Little Max and other characters that I don't want to name if you haven't read the books yet. But I thought, what about Moon City itself? You know, the city is a character. And I thought, okay, once I finished with the third book, I was going to create a tea blend that not only deals with the third book, but just the entire trilogy. And Official Moon City Tea Blend is that blend. So the ingredients are white tea, lavender, lemon peel, and roses. Now, a little bit about the white tea. The white tea that I use in my tea blends is by Dan, also known as white peony. I just personally like the taste of it. There are other white teas out there, but I just kind of stick with white peony because I like the way it blends, honestly. So a little thing about white tea. So basically all tea comes from the Camellia sinensis, unless if it's an herbal tisane in which there's no tea in that. But what makes each tea different is the processing. So the more processed, the more oxidized, it's going to be like a black tea or a dark tea, or if you ferment it, it's a pu'er. If you don't oxidize it, it's a green tea. If you barely process it, it's a white tea. Now, one misconception for years through my World Academy tea studies and just sampling teas and whatnot, I always thought that white tea had the least amount of caffeine. Not so. I took a class regarding purple tea, and at one point we started talking about white tea. And I said, yes, you know, I heard that white tea has the least amount of caffeine. And the teacher was like, no, actually, that's not true. It does have caffeine, probably not as much as a black, but probably up there with a green. So if you have been buying white tea because you think, oh, it has the least amount of caffeine, no, actually it does not. It's not the least amount. It's probably a lot. It's probably between a green and a black, but there is quite a substantial amount of caffeine in a white tea. So every time I've had any of my white tea blends, I always like to let customers know that, just in case if they've heard quite the opposite. But yes, so I brewed, this is what the tea looks like after being steeped for about 3 minutes. I don't know if you can see it. And my lovely, lovely cup is filled with Official Moon City Tea Blend. So from me to you, cheers. It's like walking through this, it's like walking through the city, and it's a nice spring day at afternoon or evening. Not summer, but spring. Like you're still feeling a chill in the air, but there's also that warmth to create that like that perfect temperature. I'm definitely getting the lavender and the lemon with not so much the roses, strangely enough, but I wonder if I'm going to get the roses as the temperature cools down. The white tea is kind of like the background, but definitely lavender and lemon, but not where I'm drinking perfume. This is the first time I've actually brewed this tea, so this is completely unscripted, but all of my tea reviews are unscripted. Why did I say that? I don't know. Okay, now the further down I go, the more I drink the tea, the more I'm getting the roses. But again, the roses and the lavender and the lemon, they're all kind of playing really well together, and the white tea is the teacher in the background. It's like the lavender, roses, and lemon peel are kindergarten students, and the white tea is the kindergarten teacher, and everybody's playing well. That's the best way to put it. That and walking through the streets of a city, and it's springtime, and it's evening, and you've got nowhere else to be, nobody's bothering you, and you're just enjoying your walk. That's what I'm getting out of Official Moon City Tea Blend. Quite good. Right, so let's do our breathing meditation, and then I will wish you guys a fond farewell. So get a glass of water or a cup of your favorite tea. Find yourself in a comfortable position. We're just going to focus on our breathing. No mantras, no chanting, nothing like that. So if you're ready, let's begin. And now let's end this breathing meditation with a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Slowly open your eyes or allow your eyes to come into focus. And now let's have a sip of your water or tea. Okay, now I'm getting more of the roses and the lemon peel. I guess Lavender decided to sit down for a moment, but still quite exquisite. And that goes really well with my murder mystery trilogy. It really does. So that's all I have for today. Hopefully I will see some of you guys at the Vegan Holiday Fest tomorrow. And if not, then I wish you a lovely weekend. Take care of yourself and each other. Raise your tea mug high, and remember that to drink tea is to enjoy life. I will see y'all really soon. Bye for now. And watch for werewolves.